Yes, yes, yes. What's going on, family? What's going on? What's going on? Blessings, blessings, and good morning. It is 5:15. I'm getting better. I'm getting better. Well, no, I'm not. Well, kind of. All right, kind of. The got the tech together today. Camera started right up, so we good. Shout out to Ecamm, iPhone 17 Pro Max, man. We doing this some real good do some real good things. So prayerfully, you had a great evening. Um, Thank you again for tapping in. Listen, I'm just excited that we are on this journey and we're rolling. So today is day 3 of me going live every single day. Excuse me, every single weekday in the month of February. So let's get right into the proceedings this morning. So I want to first and foremost do a quick little recap of what we talked about yesterday. So yesterday, we talked about we talked about clarity, and we talked about the fact that clarity is what you're lacking. And so it's not that you're bad at creating content. It's not that you can't create it. It's not that you have a bad product or service. It's just simply it could be simply that you're just confused. And we talked about how confusion is stunting your growth, how confusion is standing in the way of your growth. So we went through a bunch of different ways as how, or in questions as well, and steps to begin to uncover what it is that you may be confused about, and also how to overcome that confusion so you can become more confident, so you can also be moved to action, which that action or those actions um, will then uh, the the I'm trying not to use the word, but I guess I'll say it. But those actions will lead to results, okay, and the results that you want. And we talked about the fact that one of the things that we are often, and I struggle with this, was being able to talk to the right person. How do I know that I'm talking to the right person? How do I know that I'm talking to the right audience? How do I know that I'm speaking to them correctly? How do I know that that I am not wasting my time out here in these social media streets with just talking to everyone? And I used the example yesterday about standing out in Times Square, right? If you're standing out in Times, if you do not have clarity, then it's like standing out when you're creating your content. It's like standing out there in the middle of Times Square in New York, where millions of people are passing, right? And you're talking, and you're talking about your knowledge, your expertise, and your information, like you're talking the right thing. But because you don't know who you should be talking to specifically, you're just talking in a sea full of people and hoping and praying that someone may overhear you talking and stop and say, "Oh yes, I'm interested in that too. Oh, can you tell me more about that? Yeah, I want to learn more about that." And the reality of it is that that's just not going to happen. It may, you know, uh, by a miracle of the Lord, it may, but that's typically not how this thing works, right? You have to be able to call out a specific group of people with a specific problem, and you can then speak to their pain points, speak to what it is that they need, and then leverage your product or your service as the solution. What did we say yesterday? The solution, yep, and the answer, uh-huh, there's a solution to their problem and an answer to their prayer, right? And we talked about yesterday, once you have clarity and once you have that confidence, then your product or service is no longer just a product or service. It's a solution to a problem, an answer to a prayer. And now creating content no longer becomes a burden, but it becomes a opportunity, because you are confident in what it is that you offer, and you know that what you have to offer is going to solve the problem of the person that you're creating your content for. Okay, so now that gives content creation a whole new meaning. And so you stop posting once in a while, and you stop um, getting and when you adopt this, then you stop getting frustrated with creating content. You stop making excuses to not create it, right? And on the flip side of that, you evolve into this creator that is confident, that wants to create content, that is showing up consistently for your audience, because you know that what you have they need. All right, so today today, I think the obvious next question is, well, how do I discover my people, right? How do I discover my people, and how do I begin that process to make sure that moving forward, as I'm creating content, that I'm speaking to the right people who need what I have, and will benefit most from my information, my knowledge, my expertise, and ultimately my product and my service. All right, so let's get into our slide for today. Oh, come on, man. Oh, no, no, no. Well, hey, look. Here we go. All right, we back. We need to be. All right, so how to find your niche, okay? How to find your niche. All right, hold on for me 1 second. All right, here we go. Sorry, I had the wrong camera on here. Listen, I'm trying to get it together. I'm trying to get it together. But here we go. Finding your own niche. Finding your niche. Okay, stop talking to everybody. I told you yesterday. Good friend of mine, Coach Jamie. Shout out to her. Really, really, really kicked me in my tush when she said to me, "You don't know who you're talking about," and she said to me that the reason why I was having such difficulty with content creation and really building my business was because I did not know my audience. So she straight called me out. She was like, "You don't know who you're talking to," and she said, if you're talking to everybody, you're talking to nobody, or if you're talking to everyone, you're talking to no one. Okay, and that floored me. That absolutely floored me and changed the whole trajectory on how I um, not only approach my business, but also approach my content. All right. So it was a big game changer. And then, like I said, I think fast forward maybe a year or two later, ran into my first business coach, was introduced to my first business coach. Shout out to Marcus Y. Rozier. And he said a variation of the very same thing very early in our relationship together. He said the exact same thing. And he's the one who turned me on to this idea that my product or my service is not a product or a service. We are, what he liked to say is, we are selling solutions to problems and answers to prayer. Okay, so what we're giving, people actually need. All right, so we want to get out of this vicious, ugly, stinky cycle, okay, of trying to talk to everybody or cast such a wide net. Because what I found with me is that had nothing to do with my audience, but everything to do with my insecurity. All right, and we'll talk about that a little bit more in just a minute. All right, so here we go. How to find your niche. Stop talking to everybody. Okay, so just in case you're not familiar with the terminology niche or the word niche, I say niche. Some people say niche. Tomato, tomato. But basically, I just have a quick little definition here on the screen. So you have a niche is who you help plus what you help them do. Okay, and we're going to discover your who, and we're also going to discover your what in these upcoming slides. All right. So, number one, here's a problem. Okay? You're creating content for everyone, but nobody's responding, nobody's engaging with you, and nobody's buying. Can we testify? Does that sound familiar? Is that been your experience? Okay, cool. Then keep watching. And okay, you're afraid to niche down. You and here's why. And these are the three things that really scared me about niching down. Number one is, what if I lose people? Well, okay. What if I lose people? What if I pick the wrong audience? What if I limit my growth? Have you experienced any of that? Are these questions, are these things that go on through your head when you're thinking about niching down? Right? I've heard people say there's riches in the niches. Okay? There's riches in the niches. All right? But let's address these questions. What if you lose people? Well, listen, you may, or you may not. But really, do you really have the right people anyway? So who are you losing? Right? Like, what do you really kind of have to lose? What if you pick the wrong audience? Well, if you pick the wrong audience, then you'll be able to, based upon a number of different factors, you'll be able to tell whether or not the audience is wrong or not. But you know what? But let me go. Let me go ahead and just give you the sauce. Let me give you the secret. You ready? You ready? Come here. 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 Let me talk. Let me talk to you. I gotta come. I gotta come off. I gotta come on the screen. More than likely, this is what I've found in my 4 or 5 years since I've been doing this. Oftentimes, I'm gonna say a strong. Well, I'm not gonna put a percentage to it because then you got people like, oh wow, that's it. Yeah. Oftentimes, and this is my experience, and this is the experience that I've heard from other people, your niche or your people, your ideal audience, let's say, just in case we don't want to use that word, your ideal audience, your bullseye audience, more times than not, is who you used to be before you got your knowledge, information, and expertise. Okay? It was who you were before that. So, you're talking to the person who essentially you used to be, the person who did not have the knowledge that you have now, the person who struggled with the things that you were able to overcome once you acquired that certain skill set or knowledge base. That's who you're talking to. Why? Because that's the person that you're going to be able to most closely relate with, because your experiences, although not identical, are very similar. So you're going to be able to answer not just the question that they might be asking, but you're also going to be able to answer the question that they're thinking. Why? Because you've been there before. So you know that you're not talking to the right audience when the audience that you're talking to, you don't have anything in common with. Okay? So that's how you know that you're talking to the wrong audience. Okay, all right. So we cooking. I hope that makes sense. I hope that makes sense. Okay, here we go. Because I don't want to keep y'all long. I've been keeping y'all too long. Okay, here we go. So you're afraid to niche down. What if I lose people? What if I lose people? What if I pick the wrong audience? What if I limit my growth? Okay, so limit your growth, meaning if you niche down, if you get very specific on your who you help and what it is that you help them with, if you get very, very specific and granular with that, super focus, hyper focus on that, then the thought could be, or the fear could be, that you're going to minimize your growth because that very specific group of people or person, avatar as we call it, and that very specific skill set that you have, you may be thinking that if that's all you talk about, then then you run the risk of you not being able to grow to greater numbers, because that information is not going to appeal to a whole lot of people. But guess what? That's the point. Okay? You don't need a whole lot of people, right? You want to be able to lock in your people, because your people are going to become your greatest ambassador. Your people are going to be the ones who are going to do business with you continually and consistently over the years. Like, it's going to be those people that you're going to build community with, right? So you don't need a million people. I read a book a couple of years ago called Superfan. Um, the author's name escapes me right now. Is it Flynn? Is his last name? He's a YouTuber. Really, really, really great content. But he wrote a book called Superfan, and basically the idea was, and this was a couple years ago, so I'm going to try to pull it up from the back of my mind. He said basically that all you really need is 1,000 dedicated down followers or subscribers. You only really need a tribe of 1,000 who really relate to you, who buy into you, who love you, who you build community with, who become ultimately your customers. Because his argument is, if you have 1,000 people who really, really, really rock with you or tapped in with you and love what you do, then those 1,000 people could really afford you a pretty comfortable, a pretty good life. You know what I mean? And also, you have this mutually beneficial ecosystem where you're serving them, you're adding value to them, and in turn, they're adding value to you, right? So your business grows, but you also are able to have community with people who you know that are aligned with you. So that could open up business opportunities. That can open up all types of doors. So so what I'm saying is that the point of this is for us to stop thinking that we have to focus on the many and start focusing on the few. We talked 3 days ago, or last Friday, day one, and we talked about this concept, this biblical concept of being faithful over a few. All right? It is through you being consistent and faithful, and faithful, consistent, um, intentional about stewarding the few, right? And mastering the few and becoming really good with the few, that automatically you'll find that as you master the few, that the many will come. The very next step or graduation is to the many. But it's only by you being able to master the few. And so this is why niching down is so important. Okay? Okay. So here's what you need to know. And I don't know why that happened when I was creating my slides, but that's what the title reads. Here's what you need to know. When you talk to everyone, you talk to who? No one. Flat out. Okay? But when you talk to one person, you attract many. Okay? When you're talking to one person, and you are adding value to that one person, when you're being faithful, intentional, and you're being consistent with that one person or one group of people, okay, then you're going to attract many. Okay? Specificity creates connection. Specificity creates connection. This is a very true statement. I mean, and this is across every single element and aspect of your life. All right? Specificity, when you're specific, people are able to understand you better. When you are specific, think about when you're communicating something to a spouse, you're communicating something to your children, you're communicating something with whoever you may be talking to, a customer service rep, or you're trying to relate something to, to someone, to an employee of yours. Communication is key. But if I say, "Hey, do me a favor and get me that red rock over there," right? Or go outside and get me a red rock. Now, if I say that, whoever I'm talking to could probably go outside and find it, but it's going to take them a whole lot longer to find it because my direction to them was not specific at all. Very general, very just all over the place, right? And so it's going to be harder for them to accomplish their task. It's going to be harder for them to ultimately do what I want them or I desire for them to do. So I'm not going to be able to get the result. And if I do, so either, even if they end up finding the rock, which would be great, but they may be like, this I'm literally for the no pun intended, but you can go kick rocks because I don't know. You didn't give me any specific instruction. But now if I say, "Hey, do me a favor, go outside and get the rock." If you go out the door, you make the left, you walk 4 steps to your left, and then look to your right, you're going to see that red rock sitting right there on top of that tree stump. Now, you see how specific that is? So that person has a very clear pathway into to where it is that they need to go, and they're going to be rewarded right away because if they follow those instructions, they're going to get to their destination. Okay? So specificity is key because that is going to now parallel that to your content. Being specific is going to be very advantageous because people are going to be able to identify with you. There will be no ambiguity. There will be no confusion as to who it is that you are, what it is that you represent, and also the solution that you have to their problem. And that is going to lend to a very clear, they're going to be able to understand and make a decision as to whether or not they are in alignment with you. And they're going to be able to do that quickly because you're so they're going to be able to do that a lot quicker because you are so specific. Okay? All right. Here's the secret. Niching down, despite, I'm not even going to say popular belief, because I think a lot of people still understand the value in niching down. You know, some people say, I am the niche. And, you know, I like to talk about what I want to talk about. And I get that. I mean, and I think there's some freedom in that as well. But I do think that even in that, there is still a language of specificity, right? So even if you being the niche, and I agree with that, to a large degree, that you are the niche. But I'm not even a but. I do agree. I do agree to a large extent that you are the niche. And what that means is that you are the product, so to speak. You are what people are attracted to. You are the person that people are drawn to. And yes, absolutely. As far as you being your brand, as far as you being, the face of your brand or your business, your product or your service, yes, I definitely agree with that. But I do, and I hate to say, but there is still a very important component to you also knowing who could benefit most from your knowledge, your expertise, your information, and also who aligns with your interests, right? Who aligns with your interests, who aligns with your perspective, who aligns with who aligns with the different unique, nuanced, detailed elements of who you are personally, right? All of those things tie into uh, niche alignment, right? Again, finding the person that you used to be, finding the person who resonates most with those things that make you who you are. That specificity is going to allow connection, and people are going to identify you as their person. And quite naturally, when they identify you as their person, then whatever it is that you're selling, whatever it is that you're offering, they're going to identify that as their solution as well. Okay? So niching down is freeing, not limiting. Okay? It makes you a go-to expert, and it builds trust faster. Specificity, right? Me telling you exactly where that rock is, it's going to allow you to get there, get the transformation, get the trade-off, get the result that you're looking for quicker. All right. So specificity, being able to know exactly who you're talking to, it's free. Builds trust faster. It attracts your ideal audience, not just any audience. This is what we talked about a few moments ago. You don't want everybody. You don't want everybody. Here's what and we're almost done. Here's what um here's when things switch for me. Here's when things switch for me. Shout out to Marcus, man. Marcus White, and I'm gonna continue to mention his name because he's phenomenal dude, and he's done, he's really done a lot for me. He's really helped me out a lot. When I was afraid to niche down, here's how he framed it for me. And I gave an example of the sandwich yesterday, and you can go back to day 2 to check out that example. But what he helped me to realize was how selfish I was being, right? And what I mean by that is that my insecurity was getting in the way because I was trying to cast a wide net. But in doing that and trying to protect my own ego or trying to protect my own insecurity, okay, and me not making a decision to be more specific and not so general, in me choosing to do that, it was at the detriment to the person or the people who actually needed me, right? So in essence, by me trying to talk to everybody, I was spreading myself thin, because when I was creating content, there was no continuity in my content. There was no consistency. There was no um I was posting so random, like there was nothing uniformed or relatable. Well, I can't say relatable, but there was nothing uniform. There was nothing specific about my content. So because of that, and that was because I was trying to talk to everybody. So basically, I'm just throwing my information, I'm throwing all of my value just out there to anybody and trying to force it on people who don't need it. And so that is a waste of information. That's a waste of resources. That's a waste of time and waste of energy. And I'm getting burnt out. So guess what that means? Because I'm trying to talk to everybody and I'm getting burnt out because it's just not working, the people who actually need me and the people who actually need what I have, it is selfish of me to them, because now I'm giving them a watered down version of me. They're not being served the way that they should when they're the ones who need me the most. So they're the ones who deserve it the most. So by me casting this wide net, I was spreading myself so thin, and that's not fair to the people who actually need you, because you in essence are forcing on people who don't need what you have, right? You're forcing it on those people and being mad because those people aren't responding, and those people aren't buying, and those people aren't don't even care to know that you exist. While there's other people over here who would love and who are desiring and who are who would be glad to have that time and attention, would be glad to have your product or your service or your solution to your problem answered to their prayer, would love to have it, but you're not paying them any attention. And that's not intentional, but it's because you're not making a decision to focus on them. You know what I'm saying? And so this is why niching down is so significant, and it must be done. Because it's not fair for the people who actually need what you have, who are actually looking for you. It's not fair to them for you to be overlooking them because you're trying to be famous. You want everybody to know who you are. No, no, no. You just need to know. No, no, no. Only the people who need to know who you are need to know who you are. Okay? So again, us niching down is not the exclusion of everybody. It's the inclusion of the people that actually are in need and desire what it is that we have, that align with us, that align with our message, that align with our experience, that align with our information, right? Who are missing a step. They're trying to get to B, but there's a disconnect between A and B. But guess what? You're the bridge that helped them to get from A to B. They need you, right? Someone who's at D, E, F, they don't need you. That person that's trying to get from A to B, that's the person that's your niche. That's your who, and they need to know what to do. Make sense? All right, let's land. Let's land this plane. 2 more slides. All right. So here's the 3 questions that I need you to ask yourself in order to find your niche. Number 1, who do I help? Okay, and be very specific, because again, specificity creates what? Connection. That's right. So we want to be as specific as possible. I want you to write these down. Number 2, what problem do I solve better than anyone? What problem do I solve that better than anyone? Right? You may be saying, well, P, I don't know if I solve it better than anyone. Okay, that's fine. If better is a trigger word for you, take that out of the sentence. how do you, or what problem do you solve? Right? What problem do you solve? You may be looking in your industry or in the atmosphere, in the spheres that you already run in, and you're like, wow, like it would be really cool if my industry had this. It would be really cool if, like, a lot of people that I listen to, they talk about this way, and they talk about this particular avenue or this particular way to accomplish this. But in my experience, I've been able to do the same thing and get the same result, but doing it this way, right? And I've been able to get this result and this return on my investment because I did it this way. That's how you uniquely solve a problem. Even if it's not better, so to speak, it's a different way. And you have a case to prove because you did it and it worked for you. Right? So what problem do you solve? Okay? That maybe somebody else is not solving within your industry. Number 3, what's your unique perspective or experience? All right, and that ties in with what we just talked about for question 2. What's my unique perspective or experience? Because here's the thing, and this is another gem. You you're not a robot. We talk about AI a whole lot, but you're not a robot. You have a unique experience. There's something along your journey that even brought you to where you are now, and there's something about your journey that is unique. And guess what that unique thing is? You're the unique part of your experience, because no two people's experience is exactly the same. As no two perspectives are exactly the same, as no two fingerprints are exactly the same. So I don't want you to overlook the importance of you inserting yourself into your niche, inserting yourself into the group of people who you can help the most. I don't want you to neglect inserting you and your experience and your knowledge and your expertise in the way that you have acquired it. I do not want you to leave that portion out of your content. When you're showing up, you need to be showing up as you, and you need to be sharing your experience, because it's your experience that is going to give you that unique edge. You are unique. You. And I do not want you to overlook that. Simply because you're with yourself all the time, and I used to say it all the time, yo, there's nothing really. Why do people want to listen to me? Right? I don't have one of those stories that are compelling and people will like. I used to think that all the time. And that really shook me until I realized that no, I may not have that story, but I have my own. And there are people who have stories similar to me. Not everybody has that story, right? So whoever has that story can talk to the people who have similar stories, but I can talk to people who have my similar story. And I can share it from my unique angle. Okay? So what is my unique perspective or experience? All right, and last slide. Here's today's action step. Beloved family, this is your niche navigator. I want you to write this down, work on this today. All right? One specific person, I want you to write down one specific person you can help. Okay, excuse me, one specific person you want to help. Okay? One problem that you solve for them, and one reason you're uniquely qualified to help them. Okay? And that's it. That's all. And if you do that homework, you take that action step, and you combine what we learned yesterday with what we learned today, then you are well on your way to identifying your people, right? To identifying your people to be able to get more clarity and confident when you're talking to those folks, and you're going to build a very firm foundation to be able to show up consistently and intentionally for those people, and that is going to yield a return of relatability, of connectivity, and of card swipity. I mean, I know that's not a word, but that's what it's ultimately going to boil down to. That's what it's ultimately going to transform into. Because once you connected, once people feel you, once people are buy into you, then quite naturally, you're gonna they're going to target you, pinpoint you as being their solution to their problem, and then whatever solution, whatever product or whatever service is going to be the answer to their prayer, okay, and the solution to their problem. Why? Because you connected with them, because you hear them, because they feel heard, they feel seen with you. Why? Because more than likely you were once them in some way, shape, or form, or some capacity. So hopefully you learned something from this episode or from today's lesson. Comment below. Let me know one of the takeaways that you got from today. Please feel free to like, subscribe, and share to get this information out. I'm going to be going every single day, as we talked about before. I'll be going live every day, every weekday for the rest of February. Okay, so we in day 3, and I think we've been cooking so far. So I'm looking forward to seeing you tomorrow. All right, God willing. And so before we leave, let me go ahead and pray over you and pray over your business. God, we thank you for your loving kindness and your grace today. Lord, you didn't have to wake us up, but you did. So that means you're not through with us. So we haven't missed our moment. If we still have breath in our bodies, that means that we still have more moments to make. So today, I pray that we will be good stewards over our moments, that we will be good stewards over our time. We will be good stewards over our energy, Lord, and we will apply the things that we learned today to help us to be able to be more specific, to be more niche down, to be more focused, so that this way we can begin to identify those who need us the most, so we could be a blessing and show up to them. Lord, make us a blessing to our people today. So Lord, I pray over each business. I pray over each family. I pray over each initiative and campaign. And I'm praying for not only connection, I'm praying for growth, and I'm praying for profitability. And we ask these things in your name, in your son's name, Jesus. Amen and amen. All right. So there it is, family. Love you to life, and I'm gonna check it tomorrow. Peace.